let us all do we can to build a better future. But now, Daniel,
Yes.
you got a story for the people, and I guess some people just haven't forgotten the past, or they're still holding on to it.
We sort of want people to remember the past, but not misremember continuously over and over again, sort of remember. So let's talk about this. So Jimmy Dore, you might have heard of him. He's a comedian. He commentator.
Chicago guy?
Sort of known. Yeah, Chicago guy.
Chicago guy. Yeah, eats meat.
That's what his doctor told him, so he's going to do it.
Okay.
He is, he was responsible for kickstarting the Force the Vote effort. Someone who says things as they are. Well, Business Insider's like, no. We have to keep attacking him. That's the way to go. So let's talk about Business Insider now. So, and I'm going to break down why like the premise of this story is so terrible at the end. So I want you to bear with me on this. When a wing of the progressives called on Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez to force a Medicare for All vote in the House, it drew a line in the sand for people on the left. Force the Vote was an effort that intended to ostracize Republicans and centrist Democrats who don't support an overhaul of the nation's healthcare system. AOC didn't think it was a good idea, noting that forcing a vote that didn't have a chance in the House, let alone the Senate, could only cause friction among Democrats and harm their cause. The disagreement created a loud faction of progressives who are now anti-AOC. They are seemingly led by comedian turned political talk show host Jimmy Dore, who in December said that AOC is now, quote, standing between you and healthcare, and went on to call her a liar, gaslighter, and coward. Now, we've covered that, and we know the context of that, so let's keep going. Unthinkably, giving her standing as the highest profile progressive member of Congress, AOC saw her Twitter mentions flooded with hate-fueled banter and accusations of being a sellout and a fraud.
God.
So here's how this article's starting. We already see it. They're laying the scene, and what they're going to be getting into is not even about the topic. Like everything I just read is just set up. They actually don't care about these issues. They're going to start going into why is the left tearing itself apart, why they should stop, whereas we've already talked about a number of times on the show, why structurally the left is doing that. It's not because it's the left or it's any strategy of the left. It's simply because there is no monolithic power source like the Democratic Party or the Republican Party, so everyone's just trying to create this thing and there's competition. So let's keep going. She'll be fine, of course, as that's just part of her job. But the impulse from progressives to turn on their own, and for relatively dumb reasons, like, healthcare in a pandemic, for example, has become a baffling spectacle and maddening trend that's stalled real change. By the way, this is the same Business Insider who wrote a lot of articles that did not like Bernie Sanders when he was running, when he was unifying left because they didn't like what he was. No, it doesn't matter. The question isn't, oh, what's wrong with the left? How can we help? The answer is the left is bad and disorganized. And the question is, okay, what can we talk about? Because this article is coming out, I don't know if you noticed, about a month after much of this stuff happened, but it's good clicks. It gets clicks. We clicked on it. So instead of infighting and bickering, progressives need to take a step back and understand what the best path to progress is, as if Business Insider has it all figured out for us. The 2020 presidential primaries were heated. People who were passionate about a particular candidate would sometimes wade into insults and ridicule on social media. Yeah, just like we saw when we covered 2016. Again, it's this one-sided, oh man, these progressives are really, really aggressive. We just covered Neera Tanden. What are you talking about? People were passionate about just about every candidate who had a small but loud faction of supporters who would do this, which is true. We talked about that a lot because what was everyone saying? It's the Bernie bros. It's the Bernie people, which again ties into the Obama boys, which is a racist connotation used by Hillary Clinton. They just flipped it to Bernie Sanders. Remember Obama boys, those thuggish 20 to 30 something black men. Oh, Bernie bros, those misogynist 20 to 30 something white men. It's amazing how similar it works, just like that. Anyway, we don't have to go over that. Business Insider doesn't want to talk about it in that way, but let's continue. But for whatever reason, Sanders' online faction got the most media attention. Yeah, I wonder if the big brains at Business Insider could go, man, why was it that these guys are being attacked so much? I don't understand why these progressives are really worried about people taking over their movement or defecting. I can't figure it out. I don't know. We don't put the time into it. We're writing a piece on why progressives are separate, and that's the point. While Sanders continued to offer an inclusive agenda and even denounced the more ignoring parts of his base, by the way, it's like the only part on this page that they have a link to is that part. Wonderful. Scores of liberals and progressives became turned off by even the thought of Sanders. That sentence needs work. They're saying that he was trying to be good and he knocked away his base, but people still hated him. That's, again, we lived through that. That's not how it happened. They held this grudge despite his long-standing record on vital issues and humble demeanor. This became clear when Sanders, as head of the Senate and Budget Committee, asked Neera Tanden, Biden's pick, to lead the Office of Budget Management to reflect on her own actions on social media, including personal attacks she hurled at Sanders herself. Tanden apologized for her actions, but if you were looked under any tweet about the exchange, you saw countless accusations of sexism on Bernie's part, attacking his character and his general sense of pure hatred for the man. Because remember, when people hate Hillary Clinton, you're being sexist and you need to knock it off and stop trying to halt women from breaking the glass ceiling. But if you attack Bernie Sanders for similar reasons, even though they don't really fit any part of his character, well, that's just something that comes to be expected. Don't worry about it. Deal with it. Shut up. Anyway, let's keep going. This became clear when Sanders, we'll keep going. This grudge against Bernie Sanders held by so-called progressives remains. And not even that. They're saying it's not even the liberals that are doing this. It's progressives, as if that's sort of the order and the way things happen. Let me just summarize this very quickly. During the entire, 2 runs of Bernie Sanders, the media and all the accoutrements, including Business Insider, attacked him and told people that he's a terrible person for whatever reason might be the case. And that happened. Then that happened in the second election. Sanders basically was like, I don't want people to be mean to me. But he had also told a lot of his supporters in the last election, don't listen to what anyone says if they're not doing what you want. And they were like, okay, Bernie, we won't listen anymore. And then people got upset at Bernie for doing that. And then their take on all this thing is basically, not that it's a really complicated issue that a lot of people put in, mainly liberals, that made this happen. They're like, no. The thing that we need to focus on is the last step of that equation where progressives don't like Bernie Sanders. Remember, the paper is not about what's happening in the paper. It's about that progressives are not getting connected.
Could I see something from the first page?
Sure. Yeah,
I'm not going to.
It's I got a little bit left on this.
Go ahead.
So
just want to confirm something.
The disdain for the Vermont senator even affects people he associates with. When MoveOn, a high-profile progressive advocacy organization endorsed by Nina Turner, but we also know where they take their money from. We've covered them before. A former center circuit, for example, it was met with a wave of displeasure. And then when they endorsed Nina Turner, and it's like, the point is to be a progressive in high power in this country is to be attacked incessantly by the likes of Neera Tanden and such over and over and over again by media using the same stupid talking points. Bernie Sanders is socialist. By the way, Bernie Sanders is socialist. Do you know he's a socialist? Socialist. He's a democratic socialist. He's really a social democrat at that. So that's not even accurate. You get these things drilled into people's heads. You get these circles of people to start PC attacking him. Oh, he's sexist because he's not including women in his cabinet, even though he included more than just about anyone else. He's racist because he only has white people. He's actually more diverse a group of people following him than anyone. Oh, but they're just Bernie bros. So when you create this toxic environment around Sanders and you take, I got hit with it, Kit got hit with it. I think a lot of people remember this, especially on social media, that if you were a Bernie Sanders supporter, people would contact you like you voted for Trump. Yep. Or how they saw Trump, at least, or how we would see Hillary, and they'd be like, what a monster you are, voting for this sexist man, you sexist white man voting this way. You don't even like Elizabeth Warren because she's just as progressive as him, and yada, 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 yada. How dare you call her a snake? And then they're like, I don't get how these Sanders people could be so angry at the Democratic Party. What could possibly have happened?
Now, here's something that I just find very interesting. This is all just seems to be an article about trying to bring a lot of additional hate towards Jimmy Dore. Even though, here's the thing. I'm going to repeat this again. because I am absolutely confident in this assessment. We cannot forget that when Force the Vote was happening, Cenk Uygur was all on board for it. He thought it was a damn good idea. There were a lot of people who thought it was a good idea, including Sammy Boy Cedar. But then either someone gave him a phone call or they realized automatically they just don't like Jimmy Dore, the whole idea of rocking the boat, because there's now 15 progressives in the House right now. Remember, there was such a movement against Jimmy. I will say this. If TSA, if National Nurses United, let's say even if TYT and Sam Cedar and all the rest of the liberals and left did a whole united coalition for Force the Vote, Jimmy Dore would not be leading. He would have stepped aside. Yeah, he would have been a very vocal voice, but he would have stepped aside. But I also want to point out another thing, too.
Really quick,
go ahead.
Real quick. Here's the way it works. This is exactly how these things work. If it doesn't work and it falls apart because there's infighting that, and let's say outside sources helped make a thing that happened, they write an article like this saying, why are progressives so disconnected? Why aren't they getting along? It's just their nature. But if what happened had worked and everyone had united, the story would have still been written. It would have just been, why do progressives push ideas that they know won't work?
So here's
the answer is progressives are bad.
So here's the thing about Force the Vote, which this article did not even talk about, but yet independent media networks like ourselves, Jimmy Dore, Nico House, Bad Face podcasts, and even Crystal Ball even talked about it too. You know, a lot of people, the Convo Couch talked about it, and that is the Force the Vote. Let's say the 15 congressmen and women that were on the Force the Vote petition were to go for it and actually, you know, withhold their vote for Nancy, and then Nancy, let's say in this scenario, decides to put a vote for Medicare for all in the bill on the House floor. Would it have passed? In a likely scenario, no, probably not. It would have been a miracle, an astronomical miracle, if it were to pass. But it was, the whole idea was to shine a light on Republican and Democratic lawmakers that would deny their constituents Medicare for all at the height of a pandemic. Joe Biden is going to do a town hall or a meeting from the White House saying how we've reached a milestone of 500,000 dead Americans from this virus. We're the richest country in the world. We don't have Medicare for all. Hey, AOC and to those other 14 progressives that were on that Force the Vote petition, you missed a golden opportunity to knock all those cold-hearted bastards out of office. But it's Jimmy Dore, the jagoff comedian who smokes pot. It's his fault that he's saying mean things about AOC, even though these 15 progressive men and women actually ran on and support the idea for Medicare for all, but now they're backpedaling away from it. We need Medicare for all in this country. But yet we have elected officials that chose not to do it, that chose not to fight, that didn't even participate in that town hall. But it's Jimmy Dore's fault. It's all Jimmy's fault. It's all Jimmy's fault that we live in a neoliberal system. It's all Jimmy's fault that we're in regime change wars. I didn't know Jimmy Dore had time to do all this. But what a sight it would have been if the left actually did unite. And what an opportunity that we lost.
And again, that's the whole point of this article. This article is doing exactly what it's questioning. Why is this happening? The article's making all these points of here's how progressives are bad, here's how the voters are stupid, and why they shouldn't have said anything to AOC. They should have just left well enough alone, because obviously AOC has made so many. I mean, AOC was so right. I mean, the fact that she didn't do it then meant we got so many concessions. Right now, $15 minimum wage passed. It's actually going to go up to 20. Oh wait, no, none of that happened. We didn't get any concessions. Here again, the point of this article is progressives are bad and they don't know what they're doing, and their base is eating themselves. Whereas if you look at the Republicans, they're in the middle of a civil war right now too. It's kind of similar, little different. Democrats, they hold power in all the branches, and they still can't get anything done. Yet it's progressives that have no idea what to do or talk about. Now here's an idea. If that Medicare for All bill had gone, we knew it wouldn't have passed. But what would have happened is everyone would have had to be on the record of whether they would have voted for it or not, or what's her name, Nancy would have to go eat her ice cream and not be House Speaker anymore. And if that had happened, we know already that 2022 is going to be a slaughter for the Democrats, and they probably will lose the House because they're geniuses. Remember that. You got to vote for the Democrats. Can't vote for the progressives. They don't know what they're doing. Democrats, genius. Know exactly what they're doing. They're losing everything all the time on every issue. When the Democrats do that, they get praise for taking over. When progressives try to deal with a hand that is not as good as it should be, this is what they get. Progressives wrong. Why comes second.
Yeah.